How's it, guys, and welcome to Cult Action Reviews, where we look at the weird, the wonderful, and the downright terrible of the action film universe. Today, we're going to look at one of the dumbest action films ever made, Deadly Prey. It's big, stupid, and so of its time that the hero has a mullet and booty shorts throughout. This one's not a good film, but it sure as hell is an entertaining one. Immediately, as the picture starts, we realize what kind of film Deadly Prey is. Just check out this title sequence, which rivals what DreamWorks has to offer these days. 1, 2, 3, pose. And then we get the main credits, who show that our two leads are Cameron Mitchell and Troy Donahue. Now, anybody who's familiar with really crappy cinema of the 70s, 80s, and 90s will know these two guys. They had incredible careers in the 50s and 60s where they were leading men and cast in some great big A-budget films. However, as things went on, they got cast in worse and worse movies. Cameron Mitchell ended his career doing cameos in Z-grade action films.
Thank God I got a pension coming up.
Much like this one. And Troy Donahue was so difficult to work with, apparently, that his career suffered, even though he was a leading man sex symbol of the 50s and 60s. These two being in this film should tell you exactly what we're in for. And the fact that they are listed first in the cast, even before the main hero, should also give you an idea of how bad Deadly Prey is.
Tell me about it.
Will you close the fucking doors? Tight!
Assholes.
Also worrying is that the lead actor, Ted Pryor, who funnily enough is the director's brother, is credited third in the cast. And he has a lot more screen time than either Donahue or Mitchell, who have less than 5 minutes each and contribute nothing to the plot, as you would expect. Ah yes, stand there and scream exposition to the camera, so they'll find you and shoot you faster. That's the way to survive in a situation like this. And the bad guy's obviously cheating here. They couldn't even give this poor man proper clothes to run away in. Ah yes, our bad guys have stormtrooper aim. And shooting him and grenading him seems a bit excessive, but this guy just survived a grenade going off right in his ear, so he must be at least a little bit superhuman. And he's not even our main hero. Oh, someone's happy to see him. Holy crap, he actually got one. I don't know how he escaped when the entire force of baddies was right on his tail. How'd he get away? And then how'd this guy suddenly find him? No clue. But if you're looking for logic, look elsewhere. This film has none. And even though this guy manages to take out one of the bad guys, he doesn't take his gun for some reason, and continues running unarmed through the jungle. Of course, this leads to this hilarious moment, where he's screaming that he wants to live, to the obviously ruthless bad guys who've all lined up to shoot him.
Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Please, please, don't!
And thus ends this man's plotline. We don't know who he was, what his name was, or where he came from. But he did his job. He established the premise of the film. We have another Most Dangerous Game ripoff. We then get introduced to the main bad guy. This guy, Colonel Hogan, who I'll just call the Colonel from now on, and his main squeeze, let's say. One thing you'll notice immediately about this film is that the two female leads have no purpose. They're just there to be plot devices. So don't expect this film to have anything feminist to say.
Shut up! Now this ain't the Army. It ain't the Navy, it ain't the Marine Corps. You better get that straight. Because I'm one hell of a lot meaner than any of them.
We also get a little bit of why these guys are doing this. Here's the secret. Money. They like money. That's it. They're psychopaths. They want to kill people, and they want to train an army.
We train. It's for real.
Because apparently using random people off the street and hunting them down with superior numbers is how you train for warfare.
That's it.
But Hogan's annoyed, because the last few guys that they've killed have been too easy to kill. Maybe because they didn't give them an even chance. but whatever. So Hogan instructs his main villain bad guys to go and get a mean one, which introduces us to our hero. This guy, the most 80s hero imaginable. This guy has a mullet and sleeps on a waterbed. And this is a great way to establish your action hero. Is he cool, competent, and ready to go? No, he's a lazy sod who sleeps in, and his wife has to wake him up. Ah yes, this guy really is a mean one. He's got a mullet, booty shorts, and that really tight top. He also sleeps on a waterbed. This guy is so 80s that if he tried to age past the 80s, he'd probably explode.
Hey, thanks a lot.
We then have a quick scene with Troy Donahue being Mr. Business, and that's all you need to know about his character. He's bankrolling the Colonel. Then we get what should have been the introduction for our hero, because this is how you introduce an 80s muscle-brown hero. You lube him up and you slowly pan the camera upwards so you see every glistening muscle and every wonderful bit of feathered hair on his head. Our hero gets threatened and suddenly the game is on, and now we have the film's biggest issue. There's a lot of aimless running around this forest jungle area, and it gets a bit boring at times. But on the bright side, when the hero takes out the baddies, it's usually hilarious. Like here, where he takes this guy out with a really big stick. Walk softly and carry a big stick indeed. And then there's this guy, who he straight up picks up, slams against a tree sideways and breaks his spine. This guy's like the Terminator. And because at the time this movie was made, Rambo was one of the biggest action films ever, we get a lot of ripping off Rambo. Remember that scene in Rambo 2 where he takes out the bad guys while hiding in the forest? Camo skills to match the Predator, I'm sure you'll agree. We even have this blatant rip-off of the scene from Rambo 1. And of course the hero knows the Colonel. Because what Rambo rip-off would be complete without a Troutman-Rambo relationship? Honestly, Ted Pryor was robbed of the Oscars in 1987. His performance here is just A-grade stuff.
Bad timing.
And now we have Cameron Mitchell coming into the story. Again, his character serves no purpose and does absolutely nothing throughout. I don't think he even talks to the hero at any point. Basically, he's the hero's wife's father. He's the one that she calls when the hero is kidnapped outside. Why she doesn't call the cops or the FBI, you know, someone with the resources to get her husband back alive safely, I don't know. But the plot needs it to work like this, so this is what we have. And as Cameron Mitchell is doing some investigations, trying to find out what's going on, our hero is carving spears, jumping out of trees, and knifing people. Because like any good Rambo ripoff, this has to have a massively high body count. In this film, that means there's no context for any of the kills. The hero just basically works through an entire platoon as if it were tissue paper. But some of them are hilarious, especially when he jumps out of the tree here, or when he decides to carve himself a spear and just javelin it into a guy. Brilliant stuff. Ah yes, as all your men are being murdered, this is the best time to get busy with your girlfriend.
The
About.
men! They're all dead! The runners killed them all!
What? I don't believe it.
It's true, every damn one of them!
Yep, everybody in this movie was robbed by the Academy. This is truly some Oscar-worthy stuff.
Get the men. We're moving out.
To be fair to the Colonel, after he finds out that his men are literally being massacred by one man, he decides to take matters into his own hands and get out there with all his men. And we find out the big twist. The Colonel trained the hero. I know, I was shocked too. And after that massive plot revelation that left most of the audience, including myself, reeling from the implications of it all, we have another terrible fight scene. Only this one reuses sound effects, so it makes it even funnier. They didn't even try to make it look like this guy hit the tree there. Come on, man.
Jack Cooper.
And how could they not recognize each other until this point? They were wailing on each other for like a minute beforehand. But no, suddenly they realized that they're actually friends. Apparently the hero saved this guy's life in Vietnam. So, you know, he owes him. We also get this touching moment where the guy explains his motives for joining an army of psychopathic mercenaries that kill civilians for fun. He says murder is preferable to pumping gas. Ah, yes. I really sympathize deeply with this character and his storyline. The hero then knocks him out, so he'll be useful later, I'm sure. Our omnipresent hero then proceeds to give us another 2 hilarious kills. This one where he rises from the water like some great sea monster. How the guy didn't spot him under there is beyond me. And this one where he leaves a gun in a very obvious booby trap. As with many of these movies, everyone in it is blind. They have no peripheral vision whatsoever. So our hero gets taken by surprise by this guy who he should have been able to see. The unfortunate thing for this guy is he brought a knife to a stick fight. But he did end up injuring our hero quite badly. But don't worry, there's going to be no tension. Because just as our hero is seriously injured, the bad guys decide that the sun has gone down and it's time for them to set up camp and continue in the morning.
It'll be sunset in an hour. He's trying to draw us deeper into the woods. He wants to catch us in there after dark.
Because that's the best way to hunt someone. Wait until they're tired and injured and then let them rest up so that they can be 100% the next day and continue massacring all your men. Also, yeah, it definitely looks like dusk here. The sun is definitely going down and it's not mid-afternoon. I love how the hero pops his shoulder back into place. He uses a rock and a rock-hard bicep to get the job done. And our hero gets a chance to demonstrate his survival skills by getting some ground spaghetti. Fun fact, Ted Pryor really did eat the worms here. So as I said, the Oscars, they missed a trick when they didn't nominate him. And as our hero uses the time given to him by the idiot bad guys to rest up, the bad guys decide to have a party. We also get this hilarious angry beer drinking. Brilliant stuff, guys. We then have another Rambo ripoff scene where our hero appears at the party and takes the colonel hostage for a bit. He could kill him here and now, but he doesn't because it's only 30 minutes into the movie and we need to get to that 80-minute runtime.
Wake up, boy.
Ah yes, our hero really is the best of the best. He sets up camp by a main road and lets 2 fat rednecks sneak up on him. This scene serves no purpose, by the way. These guys are in the movie for like a minute. They're immediately introduced and immediately killed. So I have no idea what the point of this is. Except maybe to extend the runtime to 80 minutes. Because this film comes in at almost exactly 80 minutes.
You get up and go before I get a mind to fill your behind full of birdshot.
We then get more pointless hunting scenes. And another moment where all the bad guys have a brain fart. That's it, guys. Run up this convenient path to a guy who's sitting behind a precariously placed pile of rocks. The funniest thing about this is that the guy in the back couldn't decide if he was dead or not. Just watch him here. Probably because he didn't even get touched by any one of the obviously foam rocks. So he just kind of decides to go to sleep, I guess. They could have shot this scene again, but I'm thinking the film they were using was at a premium and they didn't want to set the rocks up again. We then go from that straight into this, where it looks like we're going to have a really cool knife fight. But of course the henchman just throws down his knife. Probably a good thing. The knife choreography would have been friggin' terrible anyway. And of course our hero, who's been built up to be an unstoppable badass until this moment, gets instantly destroyed. So again, this should be the end of the movie, but the plot needs him to survive. So of course, they're going to take him alive. Then we have a torture scene, because we're not done ripping off Rambo 2, and the Colonel explains why he needs the hero alive. Simple, really. It's because the hero minced every single one of his soldiers, except his main henchman. Something tells me the Colonel is not very good at training soldiers.
Fuck you.
And after being chased through the jungle and tortured, our hero is obviously not into joining the guys that tortured him and tried to kill him. The Colonel then says that Danton is 1 in 1,000, which means the Colonel really does suck at training, because he had nothing to do with training Danton into this unstoppable killing machine. He just got lucky. And as Danton is tied up and tortured, Cameron Mitchell is walking through the camp being stealthy in another one of his pointless scenes. You'd think he's here to save the hero, but no, he actually doesn't get involved at all. The guy from earlier, remember the friend that he didn't recognize until he'd strangled him for about a minute and a half? Yeah, that guy's the one who's going to cut the hero's bonds. Although you won't know it because it's not shown. All we see is the hero flexing in his chair and his bond suddenly getting loose. So either the guy helped him, or the hero used the power of his massive pecs to get through the rope.
Bitch.
Honestly, I have no idea how Cameron Mitchell got seen here. And once again, everyone in this movie has a situational awareness of a naked mole rat in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Yes, when you want to make a stealthy escape from an enemy camp, remember to stick grenades down the bad guy's shorts. No one will notice the resulting explosion. We now have another quite boring action scene as our hero runs around the camp, finds a convenient gun, survives a tank shell to the face somehow, and goes mercenaries 2 on the tank by just running up to it and blowing it up. Well, I say blowing it up. They obviously could only afford the tank and not afford to destroy it. So what we get is our hero climbing up on the tank, opening it, dropping a grenade in, closing it, and then this hilarious stock explosion. In another scene of we can't afford to destroy this thing, a chopper chases our hero. How they're missing here is beyond me. But Danton, he doesn't miss. And we get another hilarious stock explosion, which is just put over the helicopter. Yeah, that definitely exploded. Also, I don't understand how they keep missing Danton. With his shirt off, the light reflecting off of him is literally blinding me. Now we have more running and killing, and once again, Danton survives an explosion that happens right next to him. But funnily enough, the bad guys never survive any explosion. And as he's running around killing various guys, surviving explosions, and ripping off Rambo, those pants are really riding up into his crack. Yeah, best soldier ever. Lets his guard down in a hostile environment so that a bad guy can just sneak up on him. All the bad guy has to do now to end the movie is shoot him. But of course he doesn't, because his friend shows up just in time to save the hero's life. And after saving his life, we get this incredibly touching bro scene.
You saved my life once in Nam. I figured this makes us even. Go on, get the hell out of here.
We then get more pointless filler scenes as Cameron Mitchell and Troy Donahue fulfill their contractual obligations. Cameron Mitchell finds Troy Donahue, gives us some stirring social commentary about the rich and the poor and the divide between them.
You watch the people in the streets killing, raping each other, pumping dope through their veins, while big men like you sit in the fancy penthouses.
And then shoots Troy Donahue so Troy can go home and savor the paycheck he got from this. Cameron then somehow wanders around back to the jungle, gets caught, and gets immediately killed. It's a good thing too, because he was completely useless. He didn't even really protect his daughter. Why he didn't ask her to call the cops so that she could be protected is beyond me. But, you know, because of that, she gets kidnapped. And then the film does something really unpleasant. To the film's very little credit, it doesn't show the actual sexual assault, but it still happens. Having massacred most of the Colonel's mercenary force, Danton decides to just go home, where he finds out that his wife is missing. And this is his serious acting face. You can feel the raw emotion radiating from the camera, can't you? Of course, he gets told that his wife has been kidnapped. He decides to kill the messenger, and he says this.
Fuck you.
Which, at this point in the film, I was really feeling. Now, he has to get kitted up to go and save his wife. Of course, to do that, he'll need a machete, an anti-tank, rocket launcher, throwing knives, a gun, dynamite, and boots. And now that he looks more like Rambo than he did before, it's time to start the climax. I'm surprised they didn't dye his hair black so that he looked even more like Sylvester Stallone. Oh, wait, no, of course. Before we can start the climax, the hero has to make some traps first. And in another fine display of situational awareness from the world's best soldier, his friend manages to sneak up on him in this open space.
Looks to me like you're planning one hell of a surprise party.
And what every bad action movie needs, a proper bro shake as they decide to take on the army together.
Do we get to win this time?
Oh, the Colonel looks like he's compensating for something here. Our heroes then easily sneak into this heavily guarded military camp, facing almost no resistance and killing a bunch of guys stealthily. They get the wife and drag her out, and we have this scene where I can't see what's going on. But basically the wife is told to hide, while the hero and his friend go out and just randomly murder goons until the end of the film. It's not really exciting, because a lot of these guys just, well, walk straight into these very obvious traps. So we have a lot of kills and screaming and bloodiness. And of course, neither the bad guys nor the good guys can actually hit anyone with their guns, even though every time they shoot at each other, they're both standing perfectly still with no cover whatsoever. A lot of this is meaningless. Actually, the whole climax is meaningless and almost pointless. It's guys wandering around the jungle, sometimes getting blown up, sometimes getting shot, sometimes getting stabbed. There's no geography, there's no layout, we don't know what's going on. We have no connection to any of this. John Woo, this ain't. And of course, the wife gets caught again. The friend almost saves her by shooting the Colonel, but instead of killing him, he monologues. So the friend gets shot by the Colonel's henchman. The wife runs away, and the most surprising part of this movie, the wife just gets shot in the head.
No!
Great. Is this upping the stakes? I suppose that's what the filmmakers thought they were doing. It's kind of a downer to have that in this movie, but she served no purpose anyway. But now the hero is really annoyed. And we get the funniest scene in the entire film. It's almost worth watching just for this. So I'll be quiet so you can just watch it. Yep, that's right. He runs in, cuts the guy's arm off, beats him to death with it, and then scalps him. That is the best bad guy death I've seen in a very long time. Then, in a classic example of blue balling, the hero goes and finds the Colonel, strips him naked, and tells him to run, so that the deadly game can continue. We don't even get to see the Colonel die. He just runs off, and then we get Ted Pryor doing his best Red Brown impression. And that's it. That's how it ends. And we have one last bit of 80s goodness before the credits end. A really cheesy song.
Step by step, day after day.
And that's it. That was Deadly Prey. one of the dumbest action films ever made. It is ridiculously entertaining, and another one of those that I'd recommend watching, especially with a few friends, a few drinks, and some popcorn. It hasn't aged brilliantly. Its attitude towards women isn't great, but, you know, most movies from this era are like that. It is fun to see Ted Pryor doing his best Sylvester Stallone impression, and some of the action is passable. It gets by on its really entertainingly bad moments, like the earthworm scene and the death of the henchman villain, where he gets beaten to death with his own arm. Otherwise, it's a very generic, very silly, and very overlong, even at 85 minutes, action movie. And that's it for this week's episode of Cult Action Reviews. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Keep watching action movies, guys. It keeps you healthy.